My name's Roger. 49 years ago, I was adopted at birth. And in one of my last videos, I had talked about a friend of mine who had chose street life. And um, after I put that video out, I was talking to one of my cousins, and we talked about growing up in Coatesville and how our mindset was you either work at the steel mill. If you worked at the steel mill, you made it, or you sold drugs, and that was that was what we thought, or that's what we thought. Um, so we're talking about that and how like that was our mindset then. And then I was talking to my nephew about it, and he was like, "Oh, that's still a lot of people's mindset." And I said, "Okay, wow." And so I wanted to talk about being still, right? Being still. So coming up, my grandmother lived on Valley Road in Coatesville, and I like to go to my grandmother's house because she let me stay out later. Um, and it's a later meaning like till like 10 on the porch, right? And so Valley Road back then was a lot going on, right? Um, all kinds of stuff going on. It was exciting, and I thought it was exciting. It was always somebody outside. It was always something to do. Um, There's always somebody getting in trouble, somebody getting arrested, or you just see all kinds of people, right? And it was fun, and it was a lot of friends that lived on. It was there were row houses on Valley Road, so I had friends all up and down the block. So I knew everybody up and down the block, and I had a lot of fun times there. And there was some stuff that went on that was people you know, drug dealing and all that kind of stuff. But I was comfortable because I knew everybody, right? Um, so I never felt like, oh, I'm in danger because I just knew everybody. And so that's where my grandmother lived, and then we lived in Hayti, and Hayti was not as exciting as Valley Road, and so there were times where I was in Valley Road. Sometimes I'm in Hayti. Hayti is more quiet. And then also there were times where I would stay at a friend of mine's house, and they lived like out near the golf course, and it was really quiet. And so when I was out there, I would be able to just think. And when I was on Valley Road, I didn't think a lot. It was just like always something to do, like on the run. And what I learned was things change in stillness. Um, I recently saw that two of my friends that I know from Coatesville, Quincy and Levi, are opening a restaurant, and I'm excited for them. They're two really good guys. I've known them for a long while, and I'm excited for them. I'm excited. I get excited to see the process. I get excited to see how um, growth. I get excited about growth, and I know that the restaurant they're opening, it 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 happened in silence. It didn't happen in the crowd where everybody's giving ideas. It happened when you're sitting back and you're thinking. Um, and so, what I wanted to share was that being still is important, right? Because when you're living in an environment where everything is so fast paced, you tend to copy off of the fast paced stuff in front of you. Like I said in the last video, I was tempted to get into some street life stuff, but I didn't, and I didn't because of that still time. I didn't because there were times where I was away from it, and I would sit back and just think, and then I would sit back and weigh the options. And when I say I saw a lot on Valley Road, I saw a lot, right? And so you look at that, you say, is that what I want? Is that really the life I want? And so I was sharing with my nephew, um, we were just talking about life in general, and outside of my window is a bunch of trees. And I said, well, what do you see when you see those trees? And he said, well, I see a tree. And so I have a list here. So this is what other people have seen. Other people have seen printer paper, table, pencils, boats, matches, tool handles, beds, dressers, shelves, toilet paper, napkins, books, magazines, toothpicks, cutting boards, etc., 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 etc. And this is what happens when you're still. You become creative. And instead of following the crowd that's out front, you get to follow what you see inside. A lot of times people follow what they see in front of them instead of following what they see and hear. And it takes time for what you see and hear to kind of manifest and for you to take steps towards it. But that's the creative side of you. And if you can tap into the creative side of you, you can go anywhere. I've always enjoyed writing poetry and stuff, right? And the last, let's say, 8 or 9 months, I've had a lot of quiet time. And like I've shared before, I'm adopted. And so being adopted, you deal with all kinds of issues, from abandonment to feeling like no one loves you, no one cares. And I worked through that stuff, right? And so there was a part of me that's like, how can I help other people who have dealt with those things? And I was like, if I could sit down with a parent and an adopted child, I could kind of help you guys communicate and let you see where the kid's coming from. And because I'm a parent, I can let you see where the parent's coming from. And I said, well, I can't sit down with everybody on the planet. And so I was trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I affect more people? And so I put out a video, and I started putting out videos, and I said, well, not everybody's gonna see the video, and how else can I do this? And then I woke up like one morning, maybe like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and this character, Simply Sam, came to mind. My dad's name is Sam, and my youngest son's first name is Samuel. And so Simply Sam came to mind. And I wrote this story about Simply Sam, who is an elephant. Who's a lion who gets adopted by elephants, and it goes through his life, and it's kind of a roller coaster. And I just thought it was okay. And then when I started to kind of share it with people, I was a little nervous to share it with anybody. Then I started sharing it with people. They were like, wow, they were pretty blown away from it. And I'm gonna tell you what I did. There's a part of me that says, oh, you're just saying that. You're just saying that you like it just because, they're like, no, really. And then I showed it to multiple people, and it ended up that I showed it to somebody who's a published author, and this published author put me in touch with somebody to edit. And this person, once it goes through the editor, I have somebody that's going to illustrate it, and so eventually I'll have that book. I've written multiple, but eventually that's the first one I've written. But it came from being still. It didn't come from the crowd. It didn't come from hanging out. It came from being still. And like there's somebody who I consider my nephew who is incarcerated right now, and because he's still, for the first time in his life, he's taken time to write some stuff out because he's still. Like, following the crowd, it's fun. It's great. I've been there. It's loud. It's always something to do. But if you want to change where you are, you got to get still. And when you get still, things will come out of you that you never imagined. I never imagined myself writing children's books. I've written 10. I've never imagined that. But all that comes out of being still. Be still.